Welcome to another episode of the Marquette Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Pranav Sriraman, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Marquette Varsity Mystique dancer, Kahley Sheen. Kahley, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. So,
Great.
with this crazy 2020-2021 school year coming to an end, I wanted to know how you reflected on your year with Mystique, what really went well for you, what didn't go so well, and what experiences you learned that you're looking forward to implement next school year.
We started off the season really late. Usually we have tryouts in like April or so, but we ended up having it like at the end of July. So we automatically started off really late and we sort of had to like dive right into the deep end without with like very little team bonding, very little training, and just get right into our season. So that was definitely different. We also weren't allowed to have any of our camps that we usually would have. So usually we'd have our mini camp with kindergarten through eighth grade, and we were where we teach them dances and have a fun week. And we also didn't get to do to we also didn't get to go to our UDA camp, which is at the Lake of the Ozarks, which we usually go to. So that was a bummer. Um, Going along with that, just like competition season two, we just really weren't allowed to do much. We had one in-person competition, but other than that, all of our competitions were virtual, and we weren't allowed to go to nationals this year either. So that was a bummer.
So, I want to talk about you for a second. So, how long have you been dancing? And at what stage in your dancing career did you realize that I'm really good at this and I want to continue it? I want to take it seriously in the future.
So I started actually dancing when I was three. I started at just a regular studio right down in the valley in Chesterfield, and I'm still dancing there. So I just did regular classes really most of my younger childhood, but in fourth grade I joined their competition team, and I guess when you could say I that's sort of like the turning point for me when it became more of a serious thing instead of like a hobby I like to do. um, and then I would say going into probably like seventh grade, a lot of the people I know say like I sort of took the next step, I guess you would say, in dance. And that's sort of when I realized, oh, I could possibly do the high school team and be on Mystique and be like all the other girls. So that was, I would say, yeah, that was definitely the turning point for me.
And who encouraged you to kickstart your dance career and what has kept you motivated throughout the entire way?
Well, it started with my mom. My mom put me in dance classes, but then like over time, it was still her and my dad and all of that. But a lot of my teachers and like my friends and my mentors, they all sort of pushed me along and continued to push me harder and help me to excel and to do better every time.
Right. And moving forward, where do you see this taking you? Do you see you continuing this in college, or is it just going to be a high school thing?
That's actually a big question I've been asking myself. I've sort of looked around. I know a lot of the Mystique girls, or not all of them, but I know some of the girls that I do know are graduating and are going and doing their college teams. I mean, so I've thought about it. It just really depends on what I decide to do going into college. Probably would think about doing college.
And what has your experiences been like dancing for Mystique compared to doing a competition for your studio, like you mentioned?
Well, I would say the main factor or the main difference is that just in general, they're two complete different types of dance. For school, it's very sharp movements, doing specific things. Everyone's on the same count. So I would say that's really the big difference between them. A lot of people think dance just in general is the same, but they don't realize that there's like smaller different categories and specific differences between each.
Right. And so with this year coming down to a close and Mystique being almost an all year round sport, I wanted to know how challenging was it for you to balance homework, balance your school schedule, balance your sleep schedule, balance your Mystique schedule, and still make it out in one piece. How did you manage to do that?
In general, honestly, like my freshman year, it was hard. It was harder, I would say, this year though, just because my freshman year I didn't do my studio competitive team, so it was one less thing I had to juggle. But this year, I would say I was doing school. I was in a lot of like honors and like higher level classes, and I was doing Mystique on varsity, and then I was also doing my studio high school team. So I really had to figure out like the specific times at every day when I could fit in some work.
And if you had a piece of advice for the incoming freshmen for next year, what would you tell them that would maybe help them a little bit more than what you had for your freshman year? Like something you wish you would have known, but you didn't know going into your freshman year?
In general, I would just say never give up, because a lot of people just decide to stop and they still try, but they don't try as hard. You don't want to be the one person that sort of doesn't give it their all.
Well, excellent. Well, Marquette students, you can watch Callie and the Mystique team dance nearly all year round. They dance for all sports. They do competitions. Callie, thanks for joining. This was really great
Yeah, thank you for having me.
for sure.